that we didn't make any promises we couldn't keep, and that we never lost sight of our vision. To Gensler, the premier urban planner and architecture firm in this world, to Don, Elaine, Chris, Sarah, and so many of their colleagues who put community first at every step of our design. To Storin Studio, Everald and Jose, among others, who as our local architects spent so much time in the community explaining our vision and bringing it to reality. To Andrick Fraser and everyone at Best Source for putting DEI considerations first, making inclusion our priority, and ensuring that we had access to all the best practices out there. To LaShante Keys for leading community outreach efforts and his expert counsel. To Kimley Horn, to Dawn and her team for making sure we had answers to how we were going to handle parking, and so much more. To Tampa Bay Watch for their help planning a resilient, eco-conscious development. To Populous, our ballpark designer and architects for going on 20 years, I think, almost at this point, who have bear with us every step of the way. To Bua Benitier, with Dante's partners, and Leonard from Cornerstone for their brilliant and thoughtful approach to providing affordable housing with dignity for all. To Beatrice Farrell, to Yakin Israel, Albert Lee, Chris Steinacher, and everyone at the St. Pete Chamber, the St. Pete Downtown Neighborhood Association, the EDC, our Downtown Partnership, Bayfront Health, and the dozens and dozens of others who vocally extended their support for this project. To my colleagues here at the Tampa Bay Rays and Rowdies, we have become a trusted, community-focused pillar of this community, and it is their hard work that has made that happen. Stuart Sternberg, Matt, Melanie, Raphael, and Robbie led the way on this proposal, but the true magic of the Tampa Bay Rays and Rowdies is the way our entire staff comes together to do incredible things year in and year out. I couldn't be more proud to call you all coworkers. And finally, to Gwendolyn Reese from the African American Heritage Association, who placed her faith and trust in us, who introduced us to the former residents and descendants of the gas plant neighborhood, and who has put so much of herself into this proposal. All of St. Petersburg is fortunate to have Ms. Gwen in our community, and we know that her influence will continue to ensure that as this project moves forward, we will do so through inclusion, through education, and mutual understanding. We also want to thank our friends and our partners at the City of St. Petersburg. There are too many outstanding employees and friends at the city to name them all. As the mayor made clear in recognizing a handful of those, including two who have been incredible to the Rays over the years, Teresa Jones and Josie Oli. But I do want to specifically thank Brian Caper for running a smooth and professional process from start to finish. And of course, I want to thank the mayor and all of his senior staff. The mayor put an enormous challenge in front of us, and he pushed us to sharpen our pencils, to put equity and inclusion first and foremost in our plans, and to generate a placemaking project that could advance the city forward and honor all of its many constituencies. We could not have come up with this vision without the mayor's input and guidance, and we are sincerely proud that he has selected us to carry forward this great responsibility. So now here we are, at the end of the beginning. We've made it to the starting line, and we have a long race ahead of us. But we have the team to run that race well, to persevere whatever obstacles may present themselves, and to do in lockstep with the city and our hometown. My final thanks is to our city council and county commissioners. Although we haven't been able to talk as much as we'd like during this RFP process, we know that their input is invaluable and that working cooperatively going forward is essential. We have the deepest respect for all of our local public officials, and we are excited to include their feedback in the coming weeks, months, and years.
Thanks. Again, Michael Harrison with Hines. I want to add my thank you to everything that Brian just said, especially to the city. I've been involved in a number of, we all have been at this table, been involved in a number of public-private processes, and City of St. Petersburg ran a top-shelf process. It was fair, it was tough, put a lot of pressure on our team over a 4-month period, but I feel like it was very honest and very transparent, and that really made, we think, for a better outcome in terms of the proposals that the city received. I want to add my thanks to the team, everybody from the Rays and the Hines team, their Gensler, Andrick, Storin. We have so many, Dante's partners. We had so many people working long and tireless nights to get this proposal done. And one of the things that I think it was Brian said at one of our first group meetings was that, we really want to be not just competitive, but we really want to deliver the most when it comes to community outreach, and we want to deliver the most when it comes to the master plan for this site, and we want to be able to deliver the most in terms of intentional equity. And I think that every step of our process was guided by those principles, and I think that it was recognized by the mayor today during the Q&A, and it's something that we're committed to for the long run. And just lastly, I would like to add my thanks to the Rays. It was over 15 years ago that I met Stu and Matt and Melanie and Robbie and Brian. They welcomed us to the Trop, and they welcomed us as their partner, and now we're looking forward to the next 15 years as their partner.
Don Gunter with Gensler. This kind of project is why you become an architect. It's why you become a planner. It's why you become a strategist. This is a once-in-a-lifetime project, and we are so thankful that the city's 23 guiding principles are going to elevate what this needs to be and challenge this amazing team to deliver something that is historical, it's healing, it's transformational to the people's everyday lives that are going to live here, work here, and play here. And I tell you that Michael talked about the hard work. You know, normally you when you're sharing a document, which we shared throughout the whole process, you get the pings during the day, right? And you see people editing it, you see people contributing. Those went till 2 in the morning because this team is so excited about what this project is, what it will mean to the city, and what it will mean to everyone that, as Brian said, is just at the starting line. Andrew?
Thank you, Don. Andrew Frazier with Best Source Consulting. I would like to first thank, of course, Mayor Ken Welch and his staff and the City of St. Pete for really putting together a thoughtful, inclusive, and respectful proposal process. It has been a true pleasure working alongside these bright minds, and not often is DEI brought to the table at the beginning and on the onset. And I'm here to tell you that with the Rays and Hines leading this charge, supplier diversity, inclusiveness, community outreach will be a focal point and a key pillar of this project, and just looking forward to being a part of it.
Okay.
With that, we can open it up for questions. If you have a question, please just raise your hand and announce your name and affiliation.
Hi, I'm Brittany Muller. Oh, did I sign on? Hi, I'm Brittany Muller with WFLA. So Mayor Ken Welch announced that he said that he restarted the RFP process last year because the Rays weren't a part of that process. He wants the commitment from the Rays. What are your thoughts about that now that we're here and he selected you and Hines?
We've always thought that it was pretty important to have the Rays involved in the future of this site. Number one, we're here now. Number two, we have a use agreement that keeps us here through the end of the 27 season. And number three, we very much want to be a part of its future. And so when the mayor put this process to us and said that he wanted us to participate in it, and we considered who he is, where he's from, all that he represents, and the long-standing, excellent relationship that we've had with him, it seemed like a no-brainer for us to participate. And what we wanted to do was to make the decision easy for him. We wanted to give him a solution that could help solve the future of baseball, while also hitting his, outspoken desire for an inclusive and equitable process. And I think we did just that, and we're proud to be sitting here today celebrating it.
Hi, Brian. Colleen Wright with the Tampa Bay Times. Today, Mayor Ken Welch in his Q&A session after his decision said that the Rays and the city of St. Petersburg are now engaged. So does this mean that the Rays are committed to staying and playing in St. Petersburg past 2027 and that you will cut off discussions with Tampa and Hillsborough? Or do the Rays intend on continuing due diligence on a possible Ybor City stadium?
Well, we are fully engaged with St. Petersburg, and we intend to work aggressively going forward to meet all expectations the city has in terms of timeline and hurdles along the way. But as we've talked about, we are at the very beginning here, and there's a lot that still needs to go right for us to get a shovel in the ground. Up until that shovel is in the ground, it's important that we continue to have dialogue about preserving the Rays in Tampa Bay for generations to come and all the different ways that that could happen. But I don't want to underestimate what a big step was taken forward today in St. Petersburg and Pinellas County.
So still looking in Tampa?
We're continuing the dialogue.
Evan from Fox 13 here in Tampa Bay. Do you have new information to suggest that by building this particular plan, you can draw the kind of attendance that we all hope to see here in St. Petersburg?
I think we all have the same information. And over the last 4 or 5 years, the growth, not just in St. Petersburg, but all of Tampa Bay, has been really encouraging for us and for Major League Baseball. And we certainly believe that a world-class venue in the middle of a development like this, with partners and placemaking experts at our back, gives us the best possible chance to increase that attendance. Of course, that's a really important part of it. But I'll also note that this team has been very successful as a corporate entity, as a winning baseball club, all the way through, and that's going to continue to be our priority. We exist for the fans of Tampa Bay, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we are here for them for generations.
When you say growth, you're talking about the growth of the region and the state, like in terms of economically?
Exactly, yeah.
Hey, Eric Waxler with ABC Action News. Brian, just to expand on your previous answer, you said a lot needs to go right. Could you talk a little bit more about those things, what needs to go right in the coming months?
Sure. We need to reach a development agreement with the city administration. We need city council approval on that agreement. We're going to need a financing plan for our ballpark, and we're going to need the county support on that front. And I suspect that while we've put together a pretty robust plan we feel great about, as we continue to get deeper and deeper into the feedback process, a lot of that is going to change along the way too. And so we've got to be ready for each and every one of those hurdles, but we are, and we've got a team that can do it. I think we have an administration that's committed to making it happen, and so we look forward to doing that work in earnest.
Hi, Brian. Josh Rojas with Bay News 9. How much money do the Rays and Hines believe the community needs to pitch in for the new stadium? And how much money are you guys putting in for the new stadium?
We're really excited about this development project and all that it entails, and we do think it gives us a great path forward. Those discussions will continue to be held in private, and we have great trust with our partners at both the city and county to preserve that privacy. I can tell you, as someone who sits in those meetings, that I have great faith in the public officials who are conducting them, that they are putting the public's interest first and thinking very thoughtfully about all that entails.
Hey, Brian, Mark Topkin, Tampa Bay Times. The mayor laid out a plan where he wanted to have you guys commit to a term sheet to stay in St. Pete, a length of agreement for the new stadium, and then said he would work on the development agreement. Is that, I assume he shared that with you, is that work, or does that present some hurdles at all?
Well, we haven't been able to freely talk to the mayor about any of this since he finished his announcements this morning, and then I think he went straight to a press conference, and here I am. So no, we have not been able to discuss that, but we have, as I've alluded to, great confidence in the mayor and in his leadership. Look forward to following the process and his lead on it, and are ready to work on whichever parts come up in whatever order they do.
And Dawn, if I had a question for you too, you said this was a once-in-a-lifetime project. But why? Is it because there's a baseball stadium? Because you get to hang out with Brian? Like, what made it that?
Brian and Michael are the obvious answer there, right? Because when you study architecture, urban design, we have a big consulting group. We study history, and then we study the people over time that are impacted by what you build. And we study communities, and we study how successful design impacts people's lives and does improve their condition, their situation, and the idea of creating memories in this particular sense, healing from the historic gas plant, and the fact that it was a happy, vibrant, wonderful place, being able to return that. So it really is a conflux of all of the things that you love that you typically get to experience on a project, and really they're all here together. And again, I really just want to compliment the mayor and his staff for elevating what they've asked this project to be and to deliver back to the city.
I'm just going to add on to that because I think it's why we're all here. I mean, one of the things about architecture and the built environment is it's one of the few professions where you don't necessarily need to be an architect to have an opinion. You know what you like when you walk by it, and going back 15 years with Melanie and Robbie working on our first master plan for this site when the ballpark was going to be down on the waterfront, we had a vision for what Booker Creek could become. We have a slightly different vision for what Booker Creek will become now, but I think why we do this and why we started 15 years ago and why we'll be here 15 years from now still trying to execute that vision is that, you know, we are taught to be good stewards of the land, and when it's done, it's the kind of thing you can take your children and your grandchildren and your friends, and you can go to it and you can say, we were part of the team that did that. And I think that's what motivates the, you know, the people that have worked so hard on this proposal.
Time for a few more. Colleen?
Can I add 2 more cents to that too, if you don't mind? I just want to note, Andrew Walker, if you don't mind me calling you out in the back, one of the former residents of the gas plant site. Our ability to try to do something meaningful specifically for the African American community in this city is a major part of it and makes it really special to both the Rays, to Hines, to Gensler, to everybody else who's involved. It's work that needs to be done, and we are excited to do it, but we will do so primarily through listening and following what that community asks for.
Hi, this question is for you, Michael. Considering that the Rays are continuing a dialogue, possibly on the other side of the bay, should the team go to the other side of the bay, what does Hines and Gensler have in mind for those 17 acres that would have been for a ballpark? What happens if the Rays leave?
Well, it's a very different project. I think that, you know, we, you know, to the extent that ever did happen, and we hope that it doesn't, we would have to reevaluate, because it's a different type of project when you don't have the kind of anchor tenant that the Rays represent to that project and all that spirals off of that in terms of adjacent activities and uses. So I think it would be, you know, the site plan and the master plan would need to be revisited. And I think the timeline for a project of that size without having, you know, a venue that can create 350 days a year worth of events and programming and activities, we're going to have to figure out a different way to create that. But I really hope it doesn't come to that.
Time for one more. Anybody?
Eric again from ABC. The stadium rendering that we're seeing here, how close to that is what you envision, and maybe some ideas on features that this stadium will have?
We hope it's pretty close. A lot of work has gone into that. And anyone who has more questions on it, I'll just point out Melanie Lenz is the brains behind the design. What's most exciting about it is that because we're going to need a smaller capacity than we have here at Tropicana Field, and we're looking at roughly 30,000 seats, we are putting the roof only over the playing field. Right now, if you think about Tropicana Field, the roof covers the entire seating bowl in addition to the playing field. And so it's set back. Not all that different from the way some of the condo towers on Beach Drive are set back from the street. And so when you're walking through our development, you'll have a 2 or 3 story building directly next to you, and the really tall part that, you know, has to be 250 feet plus tall in order to handle pop-ups to over second base is a little bit further away, and we think it really adds to the overall development. It's been a key part of the design that is Hines and Gensler have taken into account, and it should be pretty incredible. All right, thank you, everybody.